Alex mentioned this on the show, that you are the fastest person he knows in terms of changing your behavior. And so from my research, I found out you used to be afraid of public speaking, and now you essentially do that probably every day as a part of your career. You also thought you would never be a good manager, and that's literally what you're known for now in terms of like your management styles. So how do you continually adapt and change your behavior in order to succeed?
I think that when a lot of people talk about behavior change, what they're really asking for is belief or thought change, right? Because if you think about changing behavior, that's a lot. That's not very complicated. It's don't eat the cookie. But I think a lot of people want to know, how do I not want to eat the cookie? That's what they want to know. Because people are like, how do I lose weight? I just can't lose weight. I'm like, no, you can't be hungry. You don't know how to tolerate hunger. That's why you can't lose weight. And so it's not that I lack anxiety, stress, nervousness. When we got on this podcast, I was like, my heart was racing.
Really?
Happens every time with every podcast. If I go up to speak, the last speech I did, I got on the stage and I couldn't, my mouth was so dry. I thought I was like, the words for sure won't come out. Like, I still get terrified because I care, because I want to make sure that I do a good job. I want to feel like I give value to the audience. But what I've learned is to, one, not judge myself for that. And two, I can be nervous. I can be scared. I can be anxious, and I can still act like I'm not. And that's the biggest thing that was the unlock for me with behavior change. And what has always been was, I don't need to eliminate feelings. I just need to change my relationship with them. Most people, what they do is they think, oh, I feel anxious, I feel scared, I feel nervous. I need to rid myself of this feeling so I can act in accordance with my values and with the behavior that I would like to have. But that's not the case at all. I need to learn how to befriend these feelings, how to live with these feelings, how to manage these feelings and be okay with these feelings and still take steps forward anyways. And so for me, it's always been, if I'm feeling stressed or anxious or whatever, and I'm trying to change a behavior, I just remind myself, you have to level up. It's above the situation. It's not about grabbing the cookie or not grabbing the cookie. It's about, what's my relationship with hunger? And so it's for somebody who's dieting. It's not that you're hungry. It's not that you need the cookie. It's that you don't know how to be hungry. You can't tolerate the feeling of hunger in your body. So for example, if I'm public speaking, I visualize myself having a panic attack on stage before I go on stage. And then I walk through, what would I really do, right? Because a lot of people just go, Jesus, I'd have a panic attack on stage and then that's it. That's it for me, right? I'm done. Or I'm like, okay, say I have a panic attack on stage. Then what? That only lasts for 2 minutes. What's going to happen the next 2 minutes? For people who get stressed with public speaking, it's not that you can't public speak. It's that you cannot tolerate the feeling of nervousness in your body before you go on stage. So what I do, despite not wanting to, is I force myself into situations where I know that those feelings will be provoked. And I practice like visualizing ahead of time, the thing's going to happen. I'm going to feel like I'm nervous. I'm going to feel like I'm going to throw up. I'm going to feel like I'm going to panic, like whatever it may be. How will I act despite feeling that way? I could make a joke about it. I could use it as an example for resilience for everybody else that's watching. Like I could make fun of myself. There's so many things that I could do next to actually turn that challenge into an opportunity, and then I could continue and give my speech.
Yes. If the worst thing happened, what would I do? And how would I turn that around? Then it makes it not that scary, because then you're like, well, something bad happens. This is my escape plan.
But here's what I will say. It's not even that, because that's reassuring ourselves. That's saying, okay, even if the worst happens, okay, what if you don't figure it out? Because that's the other route, which is I talk to business owners and they're like, what if my business does die? And I'm like, okay, then your business dies. Then what? They're like, I'm like, hey, you have like millions of dollars in the banks. What are you going to do after that? And then they're like, well, I guess I would start another business. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about the steps. And so I think it's one, talking about what I would do if the worst case scenario happened. And then also making peace with the fact that sometimes when the worst case scenario happens, we don't act in accordance with what our plans were. And visualizing that and visualizing how I would get over it, that it would be okay. So what? I expect that at some point in my career, giving a speech or something, like I'm sure at some point I'll like, nobody will know, but I will have a panic attack on stage because I can get through it now. I can talk through those things, but I'm sure it will happen. And when it does, I've visualized it enough times that I'll be okay with it. I'm not going to judge myself for it. And I hopefully can use it as a lesson for other people to show them that you can do things and be scared at the same time. And that's really been like my whole life. Like people are like, how do you get rid of the anxiety and all that? I'm like, it's never gone away. Only still hanging out next to me all day, every day. But I've just learned how to live with it and really act despite feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're not constantly trying to get out of a feeling, the feeling will naturally go away anyways.
Yeah.
But when you're constantly trying to rid yourself of a feeling, what happens is that feeling sticks. But if you're not trying to rid yourself of it, it is much more likely to fade away.